I came in politics as a young woman. I was 24 years old when I became a city council member in Amsterdam. So what I needed to unlearn is not rocking the boat a lot. I mean, I know I've unlearned it now, but in the early years, I was always trying to get people, I'm like a community-minded person, so I would love everybody to feel okay. Yeah. And I noticed that's also our upbringing, because if you're a part of this collective culture and society, you always take care of everybody. And this is typically a female problem. Women do this a lot. It's more expected from women than from men, and I call it the sonar. We're like sonar. We come into a room and we let the sonar go around and we just check how everybody's feeling. I would never put myself first. And then I realized, because in an individualistic society, it doesn't work. And then I had to unlearn, no, it's okay to stand up for yourself. You're not burning bridges by standing up for yourself and saying to somebody, this is the bloody limit.
Welcome to the Bicultural Edge, the podcast by and for the bicultural, the African diaspora, and friends. In each episode, we'll be exploring the many ways how our culture, our lived experience, but most importantly, our identity help us and they shape how we navigate different worlds. Welcome to the Bicultural Edge. My name is Kemo Camara. I'm the founder of Omek. If you're listening to this or watching this episode and you've never heard of Omek, you have been missing out. But this episode is not about that. We're going to tell you more about Omek later. This episode is one of my favorite episodes on this series of like podcast conversation. Why? Because I intentionally choose my two wonderful, beautiful sisters over here to have this conversation. So buckle up. This is going to be fun. So without taking too long, let's introduce these two amazing people that we're going to have a conversation about today. And this conversation is going to be about growing up, what does that look like, our bicultural identity, and then like what are we doing, the legacy. Like we're just going to talk about anything that we want.
We talk about life.
Talk about life. That's how we're going to do it. So on my left, the far side, the one and only my sister, Rislene Moustapha. This is what it's supposed to clap if it's like at the event, right? There you go.
We always love a good
go.
clap.
Are you ready to be here? Are you ready
I'm
to have this
ready.
conversation?
I'm ready. I'm born ready.
You're born ready. That's what I was waiting for. All right. Sitting next to my next to me here, the one and only Fatima Elatik. I know I didn't say that right. I was supposed to say the Arabic one, and my throat was like,
No, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Brother,
there you go. Perfect. There you go. Yeah. Well, let's. I love to hear, because this podcast is more about like understanding, our bicultural identity, our culture, where we come from, the heritage, and then how does that inform who we are today and what we're doing, and then who we're becoming along that journey. So with that, can you introduce yourself and talk about your bicultural identity from the perspective of like where you come from? Where have you been on the journey, and how does that inform like your day-to-day life today? Fatima, you want to go first?
Yeah, so Fatima, I was born and raised in Amsterdam from a Moroccan background. My parents are from the south of Morocco, we're Amazigh, very spiritual family. And I think the cultural heritage that I got from growing up in a spiritual Amazigh family living in the Netherlands surely impacted everything I did after being born. And growing up as a woman of color in a white society, going to school in a white system, working in a white male system, I really had to use all that ancestral knowledge and all that cultural knowledge to just be able to get through all the challenges that I went through. And it gave me a strong value system that protected me a lot and also gave me the energy to do what I do. So the way I grew up, the circumstances I grew up in, I told you a couple of days ago, I was actually a spoiled brat who grew up in Amsterdam-Zuid. So, and I think that was really important, because working in a white male-oriented society, looking like me. People always wanted to put you in a box just to tick the box, but I never fitted in all those boxes. And I was like, I couldn't understand, why are people trying to put me in a box? I don't belong in a box. So that was like, and I could really say, well, I don't care which box you put me, because, I know who I am. Because my parents raised me with a very strong cultural identity and the knowledge of who we are and where we come from. And we're not a subculture or something that's not important. We are a rich culture. So knowing yourself, knowing your background, knowing who you are, knowing your values is, I think, the most important thing you can have, the most important commodity you can have to face challenges.
I love how you put that, and it's great that your parents actually instilled that in you from the beginning, because this is where most people really struggle with navigating this cultural framework, especially us from like the global majority culture, where that culture is so drastically different from the culture in the West where we grew up. Like, for instance, like from our culture, collectivism, community,
Yeah.
family, those
Yeah.
values, and but in this culture, it's a individualistic culture,
Yeah.
right? Not that one is better than another, but like from that, even that perspective alone, it's a two opposite,
Yeah.
right? And so a lot of people get lost in that sense, and then also there's this narrative that's already been built that one culture is better than the Western culture is better than your culture. So having your parents tell you no to that growing up, I think that's really great. So we can dive more into that. Rislene.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in what we call in French banlieue, which is kind of like the outskirts of Paris. Because when you say to Parisians that you're from Paris, they would say, where in Paris? It's just like, well, I'm not really from Paris itself. I'm from the outskirts, but very proud of that, to be honest. My mom is from Morocco, and my dad was from Mauritania. I have 5 siblings, so it's a big family, 6 kids. And I would say my parents really were the MVP of this story, because they came directly from Morocco and Mauritania. So they met in Morocco, and then they went by foot to France, and then they created their own life and their own story. And for me, it's just like I'm anchored into, if I go back to my ancestors and my family, I just feel like it's a family of fighters. It's always been a fight. But what I've learned the most from my parents is that you can make everything seems effortless, even though it takes so much work. So for me, it's just like how I really grew up. And I also heard so much from my dad, you should be proud for where you're from, of where you're from. Like, this was always really something that was kind of like, you can do anything you want. Don't let people put you indeed into a box. But when you grow up in banlieue, what happens is also that even though you have great grades and you've been really good in school or whatever happens, they tend to say, okay, she's actually, she's French, but is she really French? Right? So that happens a lot. And then as you grow up, it's like, well, maybe you should consider more that route, like the technical route, or maybe you can work within the next 2 years. And I'm like, oh, why I cannot be whatever I want to be? Why should I listen to what you think I should be based on who I am and where I'm from? So I was always in a fighter mode, to be honest, but that's also my dad, that really was a fighter and always pushed us. But my mom as well played a gigantic role into the way they raised. She raised all of us. It was 6 kids. So until now, I still have this image where we come from home and we come from school, and then we have to, take a shower, everything was like almost
Organized.
the army, organized, And until now, I'm still very much like that, by the way.
No shit.
But I think like now I see it.
Now I know where it comes from.
I come back, I look at it and I'm like, actually, if she wouldn't have done that, I don't know where we would be, because you needed to be super organized with the amount of kids. And so bless her, like she's been absolutely amazing as well. And she played such a huge role. All that to say, I've been a fighter since day one. And I think that's where, that's where I find my strength. But I've always been proud of everything, proud of my parents, proud of my family, proud of my values, proud of my religion. I've never doubted myself at all.
I love the similarity from both of you, like how big the family and then the role that they play in your upbringing from the beginning. And I love how you put this. Maybe I'm going to use that as well, because I have the same feeling about my family, my parents. And so you're saying there's like very strong in the value, and then they were like very intentional passing those values to you. What did success look like in these values? What in this household? What were their parents telling you? Like what in terms of like what you can do, what you cannot do, what does success look like? Maybe Rislene, I'll start with you, because I've had the privilege knowing you for a long time, but like also in this context. But you and I were in Paris, and then we're like having this session with like all these young Parisians, and the pride. It was nice to see like the pride of like all these young people that grow up in the banlieue, and how they talk about that, and then like. I think in France, like all these banlieues have like a numbers, like they were saying all these numbers, and then everybody knows which numbers. And then you mentioned where you already come from, and then being a leader in the room there, and then there was like two people that was coming from the same, and they like the way they were proud, like and so that was beautiful to see. And then you were sharing also, you're very like sharing your family value, and then how you got all this to like inspire them. So what was that success? Look like? What was like value in terms of success? What was passed down to you?
Actually, like funny enough, and I'm still very much like that today, but like success for my family looks like you succeed, but you don't succeed alone. You let that door open and you help people to follow. And also never forget where you come from, and continue to help the people that need help. And that is still very much my core value. Even if I'm wherever I am, if I can feed someone, if I can help someone, whatever it is, I would always do that. And I really truly believe it's the key to happiness. It's helping others. So it's just part of who I am. And I think I couldn't be successful if I wouldn't let that door open, push people to also come with me on that journey. I'm creating that trail, but I want people to follow. I'm not alone on that trail, looking at that success and having that money. And yeah, it's nice to get a Chanel bag or an Yves Saint Laurent bag, but the biggest story is to give it back to the community.
Yes, definitely.
And Fatima, you feel like you have something that resonated with you. What was what in the household? What was like the idea? Was I even talked about at all?
Because we were considered labor immigrants, so people came to this country and to this continent to make money and then go back home or invest home. But my parents were never like that. My father was a real feminist, and he was like, success was not defined in monetary values. So even when I became a politician and everybody was like, oh, Fatima, this, my mom and dad always used to say, stay humble, because success was defined by values and by what I thought it was success. So my parents really taught me success is how you make people feel and how you interact with people and how you build a community. And it's not about you, it's about us. So success, and my parents had really strict advice for us, like what other people think of you is their problem, not yours. So you define who you are, you define what success looks for you. There was just one thing, is that my dad always said you have to make use of every opportunity given to you to become a better person. So education was really important, and And then he said, and especially for my father as a feminist, for him it was really important for me as a woman to be an independent woman. So I grew up with two brothers. I grew up in a male household. So my dad was really like, he used to make this joke with his Moroccan friend. He said, women will bring revolution, not men. And he used to say, God stood up for the women and he sat down for the men, because the men won't change the world. So this is the kind of values my father instilled in me. So there's nothing you cannot do if you want to. And that sense of self-respect and honoring your self-value, to me, was what rescued me in a lot of bad situations. Mm. So be a good person. Don't think you're puha and money, and that's not important. At the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, you're not thinking about all the money you made. You're thinking about the lives and the people you touched.
Yes, that's none of you like define success of like the material sense, or even like for yourself. It was like all about the community. It's all about giving. It was all about contributing. I think I have again, I talk about this personally. For me, my philosophy, my everything is like the best way you help yourself is by helping others. So I think that's what you both explaining here right now. And so it's nice to hear what you got from the family, and then they pass that to you. Now, this is everything, like the foundation, the values, and then hopefully you can remember, and then that lead you still today. Now you walk out the door. The parent can only do what they can do in the beginning, but you still have to go in the world there, and then like have to confront now the society and then all these things. I love to know, now you have to go and then start navigating this. You have to learn, what does it mean to be a French, right? For in your case, or not to be a French. What does it mean to like keep your the Moroccan side, or the Mauritanian side, or the overall African side, navigating the society or the way they treat you. And then being a Muslim, that's a different treatment there. And being a woman, that's a different treatment there. And being a woman of a color, that's a different. So like there's all these layers of challenges. Like your mom is not going outside the door with you and walking there. Like in school, you have to figure out how to do that. Yeah, at the work, you have to figure out how did you navigate this? What did you have to learn? What did you have to unlearn? What are the like scarf that had to like the battle that you have to go through?
Well, I'm gonna start by saying, actually, when you said like your mom cannot go with you to work, or actually my entire DNA was behind me as I was walking those rooms. I could still hear my dad talking or my mom talking, right? So that is very important to take into consideration. Like, I think I remember, I can give one example. So when I started working back in France, I knew very early that I wanted to go international. I didn't want to stay in France. I wanted to go elsewhere. I wanted to work elsewhere. I wanted to experience something different. So I remember like going through interviews after interviews, and there was this job where they were like, "Oh, we love your profile and we want you to actually start working with us. However, your name doesn't really resonate with the French consumer, so maybe we can call you Charlotte." And I'm like, and I, all those voices were there behind me. All my ancestors were there saying like, hell no, this is not going to happen. You're not going to be Charlotte. You're going to be Rislene. Either you want it or not, but that's not going to be an option. And I walked that door. I didn't take that job. And it was a well-paid job. It was one of my first opportunities. But I said no. I stayed on my ground and on my values. And I'm like, I'm Rislene. If you want me, you want all of me. Which means I'm 100% Moroccan, I'm 100% Mauritanian, and I'm 100% French. You take it all, or you don't take anything at all.
I remember the story you also share. I want you to bring, because I feel like your parent a fighter, and then they pass that, and then even the way you talk about, like you there, you can hear the voices in your. Can you share that story?
So I was like at the last, I was around 16. That's the moment in France where you go from basically collège, we call it, so which is like a part of high school, to the bigger high school, let's put it that way. And then they said like, yeah, no, we think really that you should go more on the technical route and all of that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so when I talked to my parents were like, we're going to come and it's like, no, I got this. Like, I went there, I explained my case, I showed my grade. I was like, I don't understand why you want to put me there. And I remember that guy looking at me, it's like, I think you should maybe become a lawyer. I had like exhibit 1, exhibit 2, like, what are you talking about? And yeah, I went to high school, and I've always had that push from my parents since I'm very little, that you can be who you want to be, and you can do whatever you want to do. And I think having that in mind with my career, I also grew my career because I always believed that I could get there. Even though when I was looking up there, I was not looking at anyone that looked like me. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it for the little Rislene that are behind me. Those are going to see someone that's going to actually grow within the corporate ladder and see that it's possible.
Amen.
Fatima, I'd love to hear. So now, what was your experience? And I know, like, we're going to get more into, like, in the professional space and then all this. But what was your experience also, like, having inherited all these values, family values? Now you kind of have to deal with the societal life, especially in the Netherlands here with all the Dutch white men and everything. And what was that like? What was that like growing up here as a Moroccan?
Oh, how many days do we have to talk about this topic? I mean, like, oh, God, you got me started. You see, this is what happens. The emotion starts. Let me tell you, oh, my God, I just did another podcast like a couple of weeks ago, and I just said, when I look back on my career, whether it doesn't matter what I did, I've been managing the inconvenience of white men and white women this last 30 years. And what I meant with that is that for me, I just grew up thinking I'm this typical Dutch girl. So everywhere I went, whether it was primary school or high school or university, everybody was like looking at me like I'm something special. Even my headscarf, my hijab was like, oh, that's like exotic. No, it's just, I bought it on the Dappermarkt. There's nothing exotic about it. There's nothing special about me. I'm just normal. So I just realized that for 30 years, I've been trying to make the other side understand I'm not special. I'm just me, just like you. And so I'm done managing those white expectations. And because, especially the inconvenience. So this is what everything that my parents gave me, the knowledge, the self-identity, the courage, but also the strength and the street smartness to stand up for yourself and don't take no for an answer. That led me to all the things that I was doing. And when I look back, hindsight is that's what kept me sane. Just knowing you're not gonna decide for me who I am. And if you have a problem because you're trying to put me in a box that I don't fit in, then it's your problem, not mine. Don't make it mine. It's your inconvenience. Deal with it. I mean, cover yourself because I felt inconvenient for most 40 years of my life. And you know what that inconvenience brought me? Strength, courage, knowledge, a lot of guts. So I really wish for you this inconvenient feeling. So when we grew up, there were no people who went before us who could show us the way. So we had to pave our own path with heartache and burns and, I don't know, cry nights and just hating everything and everybody. So luckily, we're now in the position to make to make it better, but also to pave the way for the next generation. So they don't have to go through the shit we went through, and they don't have to go through the challenges. They have a right to their own trauma and their own challenges, not ours. So our generation, it's our responsibility to make sure that the next generation coming up gets reinforced, feels this strength, but also the certainty and the security that they belong. We were just struggling just to belong. And everybody was like making you feel like, okay, we can accept you. Even the Dutch had policies about this, integratie. Like, we're trying to manage you. We're trying to manage people of color. We're trying to manage women of color. And then after integratie is diversity policy. I hate that fucking word. Diversity policy is
First
nothing.
F-bomb just
I'm
dropped.
sorry, but diversity policy is nothing but an ordering principle for the white system to deal with people like us. If you apply diversity policy on me, that means I don't belong, and you're trying to find a way for me to belong. I'm your customer, so I belong. Get used to it. So for me, this is what I want to give the next generation. Please don't get stuck on all these ideas and this. And I still see it happening, right? Because the system world is still led by white men. And I don't hate white men. I love you. But white men are, for me, the symbol of the white-oriented society, the white and the male-oriented society. Even white females have these issues. So we need to have the real talk with the next generation to give them the push and the power to make the change that is necessary. We open the doors, but now they have to storm through those doors and just, capture that building, take it over.
I think this is one of the many reasons I love both of you. Now, because I don't want to use the word strong woman, but you know your value. You know who you are. Right, and then you know how to stand up for that. Like, it's non-negotiable. And so, like, having a conversation with, like, it inspires me a lot. And then Rislene, you and I have been working together a lot, and then seeing you in action and how you make those things happen in an environment where most people don't even touch it, right? And then without not even compromising, but like the way you do it, the way you navigate. Is very inspiring. That's one thing, because you know your values and all that stuff. And the second thing, like, you just don't say this. You too are doing work that's opening door for people, right? And then I think we're gonna get more into that. But before we get there, it's like there are a lot of people who are not privileged, right, to have that strong sense of themselves, right? And so I want to kind of talk about a bit of that journey. And I know it's like, it just happened at home and it was here. Between those two paths there's like a lot of learning and learning challenges, like story that had to happen for you to actually have that experience to be like, oh, this is actually very strong. This is not compromising my value, my worth. Like, so I want to kind of talk about this story.
Honestly, I don't think I unlearned anything, and I'm going to explain why. Again, coming back to my story, if you talk to my brothers and sisters as well, like, we're all fighters, like fighters, highly competitive. And since very little, what we learned was to really stay true to your values and your sense of self and always be rooted in community. Since I'm very, very small, I remember my dad having his friends over and my mom having her friends over, and they were laughing the whole evening, and they would do that every month at someone's house. There was a huge sense of community. My dad also wanted people to become homeowners. So he fought very hard for the entire Mauritanian community of Cergy to be able to actually buy their first houses. So at the end of the day, they came to a place where they didn't know anybody, and they built a huge community. And it really struck me the day where I went to my dad's funeral, the amount of people that showed up. And then I was just like looking around, and it was people from 25 years ago all the way to people that are still our neighbors today. And then the way that he touched, my parents touched so many lives. And that day I was like, this is what really matters at the end of the day. And so because I was rooted in this, everywhere I went through my career, I worked at different companies, etc. I always had this thing of saying like, okay, how can I help my community? What can I do? And what are the skills that I can use to help my community? The only thing I can do within a corporate world is to say, you know what, I'm going to coach you. I'm going to help you get that job. I'm going to push you as much as I can. I'm going to connect you to my network. What do you need from me? How can I help you? And then I do this with one person, two, 3, 4, 5, and then that becomes what? A community. And I also put in place, not that long ago, every month I do a dinner, either at my house or someone's house, inspired by my mom once again, and it's called Kitchen Table. Yeah. And we all sit, we all bring food, and we talk, and it's only women of color. And again, another community is built, and we help each other, but on another level. So I did not unlearn anything because my parents and my family taught me so much to not have to unlearn anything.
Before we go any further, let me tell you a bit what Omek is all about. Omek is a community-based career and professional development platform that connects bicultural talent with global organization and brands, but also with meaningful resources and opportunity. But most importantly, what we do is to connect you with a global bicultural support group. Here's my call to action for you. Go right away and register to join our digital hub, our digital platform, and it's for free. This way you have the opportunity to connect with people, other bicultural change makers around the world. We are already across 84 different countries. So if you are listening to this or hearing this anywhere and you're now part of the Omek community, here's my call to action for you. Go right away on the website and register and to join our digital hub, our digital platform for free, where you will have the opportunity to meet and connect and engage with the global community of other bicultural and also be able to participate in workshops, meet new people, and find job. Together is the only way forward. How about you? Was there some challenges?
Oh, I had to. I'm still unlearning a lot of things. You see, because I came in politics as a young woman. I was 24 years old when I became a city council member in Amsterdam. So what I needed to unlearn is not rocking the boat a lot. I mean, I know I've unlearned it now, but in the early years, I was always trying to get people. You know, I'm like a community-minded person, so I would love everybody to feel okay. Yeah. And I noticed that's also our upbringing, because if you're a part of this collective culture and society, you always take care of everybody, and especially from women. It's more expected from women than from men, and I call it the sonar. We're like sonar. We come into a room and we let the sonar go around, and we just check how everybody's feeling and make sure everything is okay, and then we can do our thing. I had to unlearn that, because in an individualistic society, it doesn't work. Nobody gives a fuck about your sonar. So you're gonna, and if you do that, and I'm always trying to make everybody feel comfortable, not because I think they will like me or something, but because I wish that for them. I wish for them to feel okay. And then I realized it doesn't work that way, because I would never put myself first. And I remember when I was in politics, a lot of my colleagues would say, like, people were harassing you and sending you stuff and talking about you, or even badly, or writing bad articles about you, but you never defend yourself. I said, no, but if you were attacked, I'll kill the motherfuckers. But I will never stand up for myself, you know, because I would never do that, because I would think, you have your right, because it doesn't touch me. What you think about me, it doesn't bother me. You can think whatever you want. But if you touch my brother, I'll kill you. Not verbally, people don't get
we get
but
it.
You know, and then I had to unlearn, no, it's okay to stand up for yourself. You're not burning bridges by standing up for yourself and saying to somebody, this is the bloody limit. So I have to, and if I'm going to be really honest, and this is real talk, is I've had to unlearn that after I got out of politics. So I've been unlearning that for the last 12 years, to stand up for myself and say, okay, I'm open, I want to help everybody, but there's a bloody limit.
Yes.
I have, you know, you have to also appreciate what I bring in. Not just take me for granted, I do all the stuff. And this is typically a female problem. Women do this a lot, whether it's in the collective communities or in the non-collective communities. We always tend to overgive. And we always tend to let people cross our boundaries time and time and time again. And in our culture, in our African culture, a lot of men take that for granted. So we have to have the real talk. The way we're bringing up our girls and our women is making them vulnerable when they go outside of the community. Because we're teaching them that they have to take care of everybody's feelings except theirs. But I cannot give what I don't have for myself. So this is what I really had to unlearn. And because I grew up my mother is an altruistic person. So she would give everything and help everybody. And my father was more realistic, but my mom, so I had these two upbringings, and I had to unlearn this part that my mom gave me. She's so spiritual. And I was like, Mom, I'm spiritual to a limit now. I mean, I love God and I love praising, but there's a limit of what people can do. And we don't teach women and young women to do that. And I see it within my students. First things the girls do when they come in is they do the sonar check. Who is to be trusted? Who would be my pal? No, take care of you.
I do see that. I mean, I have had the privilege of being with you and then with your the academy kids, and the way you like there and then just making sure they have the sense of empowerment and not shrink when they are in these spaces. Like, you're very vocal, intentional about it.
You have to, because we didn't have that. Even if we had people that looked like us, sometimes they were acting. So when people come to speak to my students, whether they're going to coach or give a masterclass, I tell them, if you cannot show them your own story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, don't stand in front of the group. Because I need them to feel everything. They learn the most from our own mistakes. If we share our mistakes, our failures, they will learn more. Don't present the picture perfect of a person you are, because you're not. Be honest, because I'm teaching them to own their story, then you have to own your story first. So practice what you preach. I cannot stand in front of my kids and think, hey, I'm so great, I'm the best. No, I'm not. I'm a human being. I make errors. I fail. I failed 1,000,000 times before I was successful. And you know what? I'm so happy for those failures, because I wouldn't be here if I didn't have that failure. So this is what I mean with real talk.
Yeah.
We need to have that in our communities, especially in our African diaspora here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
We have to have the real talk.
The journey you've been on is so amazing. Like, I wonder like how it was at your time, like how many people like you were having access and like in the politics, like a city council, because now it's getting a lot more.
Yeah.
Like even in the Omek community, I can count how many
Yeah.
already is like in the city. Even this past one, there was a lot of people that were part of this becoming. So it's becoming a lot more. But I'm sure it wasn't that normal. So
No,
you
it
had
was-
to open the door.
It was 28 years ago. So it was 1998. I was one of the first, and I have one Ghanaian friend with me in the city council who were young people who grew up in this country. Because you have the first generation who was in, but we were special because we were the second generation, people that raised and grew up here. So we knew the system, and the system was still trying to make us look like exotic, special things, and we were like, "What the hell is wrong with these people?" So then it was really important to support each other, because we knew there's nobody in front of us. Nobody did it the same way we did it or had the same background as we did. So we had to figure things out. And this is why community is so important.
Yeah.
Because you can uplift each other and help each other also.
You mentioned it like there's a lot of, and I love the real talk, and this is why I was so excited about this podcast conversation. You mentioned about a lot of failure. I'd love to hear like maybe one failure that actually learned so much from, but it was at the time it felt so painful.
I can tell you,
yes.
all the failures that I had,
Yeah.
the origin of the failures was one thing:
Yes.
ignoring my intuition.
Say more about that.
Ignoring the intuition. You come in, you have a discussion, especially in politics, there's a topic, there's an issue, I have to figure. And everything in your body is telling you, this is not the way. And then everybody's surrounding you saying, no, but we have to do it like this way. And your whole body is rejecting it, but you're ignoring that. I have many examples of that. Like, okay, no, but maybe we should just do straight talk. I was always of the straight talk. And then you have a whole army of public servants who mean the best and lawyers and then, no, but you have to put it like this. I said, why? I want to put it like this. This is the truth. Let's put it. No, we have to write the letter this way. I ignored my intuition. And this is what I think, this is why it's so important. I go back again to my original beginning is know who you are. Know your values. Know. Then nobody can tell you what to do. Yeah. That you will never ignore that voice inside and your whole body shivering and saying, don't go that way. So this is what I teach my students. You know what you need to know. You just have to dig deeper and cancel all the noise that is surrounding you, all the expectations of the people around you, all the expectations of family and friends. You have to learn to ignore them and, and just connect with who you are because your ancestors are telling you what to do.
Rislene, you...
Skin, he's like, oh.
I'm like loving it. It's like I want to... So Rislene, you are, I think successful in your own merit, in your own term, and you are in the corporate space, and it's like in the leadership in the corporate space. And we know like the higher you go, especially now in this corporate space, it becomes very, different. Like to use that term in terms of the type of people that's there, and then they definitely don't look like you. And they don't think like you. They don't have the same upbringing, and you a lot of the time feel the only one in those rooms. And then you have to navigate that, and then knowing who you are and having values that's never gonna be compromised. What I love to hear. What have been some of the challenges navigating that?
I think like what I see the most is people of color navigating that world with code switching. So kind of like becoming someone else when you pass those doors. I can't do that based on what I just told you before. It's just like, I can't do that.
Impossible.
Impossible. I'm going to be me. Either you like it or you don't like it. Which means, it means what it means. I stay anchored in my values and who I am. And to a certain extent, I think that if you don't have that in your boardroom, if you don't have that diversity in your boardroom, when actually your consumers represent, all type of diversity, you're not going to win. So being in that room actually is important for you to voice over what your community stands for. So for me, the challenges will always be the challenges, which is you're the minority. But what's new? We're the minority everywhere we go.
May I add something about Rislene? Because I love my sister and she's being modest right now because... it's not just enough to be in the room and it's not just enough to speak out, but you also have to do the work. And she really does the work perfectly. So she puts in the effort to make sure that the shit gets done. So a lot of our people always want to have quick success. And they think like emancipation or getting ahead has to be painless. It's never painless. Change isn't painless. And what she's saying and what she's doing is who she is, and she puts it in her work. So I don't have a corporate background. I don't understand corporate world, but she is a real good teacher for me about how to manage in corporate world. And I look at her and I was like, oh my God, how does she do this? And she works really hard. So she puts in the effort to be in that position to make the change that she's doing. And what I love about her is, we talk about people that look like us who came in who were gatekeepers. She's definitely a gate breaker, not opener.
Yeah.
She's not. No.
Yeah, she doesn't even open it.
No. I have to really. She doesn't open the gate. She breaks it down. Not for her. That's really important. Not for her to get ahead, but for other people to get ahead. And that's mastery.
Yeah. I mean, the two of us are like very well placed in this position, like to have this like testimonial because we've been working with her, and then the impact that has on the community in general, and then we know the work that need to be done that's done behind the scene, and you don't even see like you have a conversation with her, and then the results. She just always bring the results, and then not even sweating over it. And then at the same time, I work with a lot of other people who are in the similar situation. That's like I'm not taking on this. I've done what I have to do, and I think the question that I wanna maybe add: how do you still keep that energy going? Because the environment is not built for the value that you have, for the the thing that you want to get done, but and your value is not compromising, and so and you are in this space. How do you keep going consistently, and why?
First and foremost, thank you for the nice words. I want to say
You're
the
not used to this.
humble one, you know.
Yeah.
But again, like the first time I think I met Fatima, it's important to put that in perspective. The
Okay.
first
Oh,
time
God.
I met Fatima, we didn't even speak. She hugged me, and then we stayed in a very long hug. And then I looked at her, and she said, "Let's meet up outside of work. Like, let's just have a dinner. Let's just chat." And that moment, just that connection, I just felt like in my entire
Ooh, I still
bones, it's
feel
like,
it, yeah.
this is my sister. Like, we didn't even share any words, but I knew deep down, this is my sister. Now I'm going to get emotional.
I'm gonna cry again. I did my
you go.
makeup. Don't make me cry, woman.
But
Keep going because we had almost 10 minutes to go on after you, right? Let's go.
so all that to say, like, when I see her navigating within Patta Academy and the work she does and everything she does, like, she inspires me every day. And so I'm trying to do the exact same thing in my own, in my own remit. And how can I do that with Patta Academy and those kids, but also with you, but also within the corporate world? How can I? And I think what keeps me really going is to see that people are actually getting there. They are succeeding. Things are moving. And I know damn well that it's not going to take a year. It's not going to take 2 years. It might take 10 years. But the moment I retire, people
Get there, yeah.
will get there. And that's exactly where my mind is at. And when I'm tired, or where sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I have so many things at work, but I also need to do this for the community. Well, I'll manage. I do both. I push myself and I do everything, because I do feel like the important part of the work is also to make sure that these kids don't need actually what you were saying earlier, which is like, don't need any, employee resource groups or any of those things. Because why do we need those things in corporate world in general? It's because we are minorities. So if tomorrow we're not minorities anymore, because we have like enough people of color, enough diversity overall, then we don't need those employee resource groups anymore. We will always have community, but we don't need that support anymore. And for me, this is my long-term, my North Star. That's what I aim for. It's just like making sure that I can help as much as I can. And what's funny is that every time someone asks me, like, Riz, you did so much for me, and we were working over the weekend for this interview, and we did this and we did that, so how can I return the favor? I always say the same. Please pay it forward. Do it with someone else and another person, because it cannot be only a Riz. It cannot be only Fatima. It cannot be only Kemo. It has to be that not only we give, but we also tell people you need to do the same thing with other people. And that's the only way.
Each one teach one.
Absolutely.
You do the same thing with a Patta Academy. The way, not only like the curriculum, the environment, the everything, but like the essence, the energy, the authenticity, the vulnerability, the support that you bring to. And for me, actually, because I've seen this in work, I think that's the biggest value they get out of the program than, like, the real content and all that stuff.
The program is not a business program, it's a leadership program to help the leaders of the future become better leaders at a young age, to be masters of their own life. I always say, tell the kids, you have two positions when you get in the car. You could be the driver or you could be the passenger, and that's life. You want to be the passenger of your life? That's cool. I have no issues with that. But if you say you want to be the driver of your life, then you need to learn a couple of things. And the most important thing is self-mastery and self-knowledge. Who am I? What are my values? And that's the most important thing. What you do is not so important as who you are. Because you can have in a lifetime, you can have 50 careers. And the most consistent thing in those careers is you, what you bring into it. And this is what we do at Patta Academy, preparing the next generation. Because I've worked in the system for 30 years. I'm done working in the system. We're going to prepare the next future generation of leaders to take over the system. That's the only way I can think that we could change things.
That's the only way.
May I add something I wanted to say?
Yes.
Is, you know what? What's important to teach the next generation or let them see is that even us as people of, I don't know, I'm a middle-aged woman, but even we need each other as a support system. Mm-hmm. Even we have to sometimes lean on each other for, okay, listen, can you talk to me? Can you reflect with me? Am I seeing this correctly? Because we are still learning. Yes. We are not there yet. We haven't finished learning. I don't think we stop learning until we're put in the grave, and then even then we start another journey. But I think it's most important to let the next generation see that it's okay to ask for help. We were not taught that it's okay to ask for help. And you ask help from each other and say, okay, I'm at a wit, I don't know. If I have something about simple things, I call Rislene for simple things, decks, making decks, having a good, I know how to talk, but sometimes it's difficult to put it into images or in words. I don't know, she's the best. Then why should I go and find it outside? I'll call my sister. So be, and this is what we teach our kids. Know what you're good at, but also know what you're not good at. And surround yourself with people who are good in the things you are not good at. And, and applaud them. That's their success. So, and that we have to show our own vulnerabilities to the next generation, that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to not know it all. Because guess what? You have a sister and a brother and a whole community of people that maybe have an answer to your questions. So this is what I love about connection. So when you text me, do you want to be in a podcast with me and Riz? Of course I'm going to say yes, because I'm here to support my brother. And you know that each time you come to Patta Academy, when the kids, like, they give a like on the Instagram account of Omek, I say, listen, we cannot pay the rent with likes. I mean, I know it's in this culture. If you like these events, pay. And, if you can pay 10 euros to have a, how's it called, that thing that they drink right now, the matchas or whatever it's called, then you can pay to be a member of Omek. And this is how we support each other. Show up, not just say, hey, good job, but also of
Omek.
Omek, I say,
like, no.
Listen, we cannot pay the rent with likes. I mean, I know it's in this culture. If you like these events, pay. And, if you can pay 10 euros to have a, how's it called, that thing that they drink right now, the matchas or whatever it's called, then you can pay to be a member of Omek. And this is how we support each other. Show up, not just say, hey, good job, but also support financially, support with knowledge. And this is what I love about us. Yeah. If we are able to let the next generation see this is how we oldies do it,
you can do better.
You could do better because you have us supporting.
We're going to try to close it from here, and then hopefully the production team can make this happen again. So I would say maybe what would be, looking at everything where you are today, you just call us oldies. I'm trying to dress, and then look at my...
I'm younger than you too, so you know.
Yeah, I'm trying to look like a young... And then you call us oldies.
You're young, exactly.
I mean, like, look at
I'm old.
look at what my sister's wearing. Look at that.
I mean,
seriously,
we're
like.
trying.
But all the wisdom, lived experience like that we have had to get here today. And it's like there's a lot of young people, like, you work with them, you support both community or like more community, and then even the community within your organization. And we see these young people all the time in their journey and struggling. And so not everybody is where we are today. And then rightfully so, because they have to go through this journey as well to get here. What would be one thing or maybe two or three things that you would like to say to this generation coming after us, so they don't have to necessarily make all the mistake that we made, so they make the necessary mistake that's needed for their growth, but they also can leverage and then grow smarter, and then so they can take this work even further than we had ever imagined.
Well, already what gives me a lot of hope is that this generation is very different from our generation. They really don't take shit. They I'm impressed at this generation, and it gives me a lot of hope. And they say no if it doesn't sit well with them. They are vocal about it. I mean, this is very different from our upbringing, right? So I think like that gives me a lot of hope. So I want them to actually not change as they actually get into the battle of either like, if they create their own company, or either they go to in the corporate world, they shouldn't change that. They should continue to sit in their values. And I mean, I love this sentence, but I keep on saying it. You're gonna fall. Like, there is no journey where you don't fall. You're gonna fall. But fall 7 times and stand up 8. Like, you cannot stay on the floor too long. And that's where, like, I think we grew up with a lot of resilience. And I hope this new generation don't need too much of it, if I'm very honest. But will there be failures? Yes. But stand up, chin up, work, and you'll get wherever you want to get. And don't let anyone tell you that you cannot be who you really want to be.
Absolutely. How about you, sis?
I just tell my students, be you. Just be you and take your time. I mean, they're 18 years old when they come into the academy. You have a whole lifetime of learning and achieving. And especially the challenges in these times for these kids, they have to do everything and have to do it perfectly. No. If you know what you're good at, you know what you're not good at, it's okay to fail and just accept the good, the bad, and the ugly of yourself. Because if I accept it, it doesn't matter what other people think or feel. So I really emphasize on the self-knowledge. And also, you have to understand, the world is not waiting for you. You have to go and conquer. So you have to do the work. It's not just you got your degree and you graduated and you're this influencer, you can make nice stuff, that's it. You have to do the work to get the position you want. And that means learning, unlearning, falling the same way we did. But the most important thing is you don't have to do it alone. Yes. You have a community now. And this community, this is going to be your backbone when you need it the most. This is going to be your resources, your help. But then you have to invest. Because some people use community as a way to come and get something, but they don't bring. You cannot get from a community you don't bring. So you have to bring something in so you can get it out. And this is what we teach our students. And we're doing this because we've learned the hard way of not having a community and feeling alone. So for me, I'm the most grateful woman and the most blessed because I have a community of not oldies, some oldies, some not oldies, but I also have a community of young people that are so creative, that can do stuff in the blink of an eye that I would take like years to understand. You know how blessed we are?
Yeah, I agree. We couldn't close this in a much better term than the community. That's my sweet spot. And I always say community is a solution to everything. It's a solution to everything. And luckily, we come from a collective environment, community, family. Like you're not alone. I think that's where these words, Ubuntu, I am because we are, and that's a normal thing for us. And then just like sticking to that. Now, even though we grew up and then we are operating in this individualistic environment. We need to learn from that, not shy away, learn from it, but like stay who we are, leverage our community, leverage the people, create the right people around you, find the right community that align with your values, that contribute to who you are and you can benefit from, but also you can contribute to. So as a community builder, I really love that. Like, don't just come to a community so you can benefit and take extra, but like benefit and contributing. Actually, when you contribute in the community, that's the most authentic form of benefiting from it. So let's surround ourselves with that. And I think we are privileged because we have each other in each other's life, and that's amazing. That's huge. And for me, when people ask me like, what makes you happy and all that, I'm like even the mental health and then all this stuff. Like my medicine has always been a community. My medicine has always been my family, right? And so I'm surrounding myself with the right set of people that I know I can call anytime I need a problem. And so because of that, in my head, I don't even have a problem. Even if I have a problem, I'm able to overcome that challenge because I know there's a support system. So I don't even have to worry about it. And so idea of a community is the most beautiful way of closing this wonderful, wonderful conversation. So again, my two wonderful, lovely sisters, thank you for being here, and assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam,
Alaikum
brother.
salam. Thank
There you
you
go.
for having us.
Absolutely.